Welcome to our final session of TEFL June 2024. I decided to make this session as a revision for everything, and it will help you with planning. When we start our lesson plan or lesson planning in general, feels like a scary or an evil spirit that actually puts you off. Once you have a lesson plan, you feel like, oh my God, I have a big job to do and I'm not going to be able to do it effectively. However, this is a fake feeling. And today, the session will help you attack the lesson plan more confidently. See? Maybe it is not the final session. Hamid will have another revision session with you, like to try things out. But I'm not going to give you something new today, but I'm going to revise and help you make effective decisions when it comes to lesson planning. So lesson planning made easy with this with this session. Okay. So normally, let me tell you a quick story. When I started my CELTA, I felt like the lesson plan was the most painful part of the whole training. And I used to teach twice a week on Mondays and Wednesdays, I think. So when I finished my lesson on Monday, when I finished it, I went back home and started planning for my lesson on Wednesday, because lesson planning used to take all the time available. I didn't know where to start or how to start, so it was kind of a very daunting task for me. Today, I'm giving you the secret formula, or the formula that will make it very easy. So without any further ado, if you look at this slide, the first step you need to take is to look at the TP points and the materials. Oh, I'm using I'm using my Windows pen to highlight my MacBook. That's crazy. So that's the first step, to look at the TP points and the materials. At TEFLism, we provide you with the TP points. We give you like the summary of the lesson you are going to teach, and we give you the book you're going to use during the teaching practice. So that's number one step, TP points and materials. Once you look at both, you need to ask yourself, you can write these questions down on a sticky note. See, for every lesson, before each lesson plan you're going to write, you can write these six questions on a sticky note. Once you finish one, you can just tick it or cross it out. So the first question. Thank you very much, Maha. Thank you. The first question is, you will get it once you look at, sorry. Once you look at the TP points and the materials, you need to ask yourself question number one. I'm sorry, it is not what's the most suitable framework. It is, what's my main aim? The TP points will tell you what your main aim is. That's a very important question, because the main aim will actually guide you to the suitable framework. So without knowing the answer to the first question, you will be distracted. You will just go around in circles. So number one, what's your main aim? Number two, what's the most suitable framework for this main aim? And remember, the word framework is the lesson shape. How do we stage the lesson? And the third question is, what are the most important stages? In each lesson, there are some important stages, more important than the others. And we will know which ones today. Okay, let me just hide. Okay, so after you get what the most important stages are, you need to think about time allocation for each stage, how to adapt your materials, and finally you start writing, and you start writing your aim, because this is the first thing we evaluate when we look at your lesson plan, your aims, your main aim and your secondary aim. So if they are written effectively, we get good vibes. We get good vibes about the lesson itself. Okay. So how many questions do we need to think of? These questions will organize everything for you. The answers to these questions will make your life much easier before starting the lesson plan. If you start the lesson plan without looking at the materials and the TP points, without answering these questions, maybe in a separate piece of paper, like you answer these questions about the lesson in a separate piece of paper, okay? Because this is the core, or this will be the core to your lesson plan, the backbone of your lesson plan. Again, the answers to these questions will be the backbone to your lesson plan and will help you finish your lesson plan in 1 hour or 2. If you don't have distractions around you, you will finish your lesson plan maximum in 1 hour or 2. If you are slow, it will take you 2 hours. The lesson plan all together, like all the stages and the cover page and everything. So to keep your life organized, you need to think of, or you need to be sure of, number one, your main aim, because your main aim will decide the framework. And once your framework is decided, everything is organized. Okay, let's take a look. We have a variety of main aims. If you're teaching reading or listening, that means your main aim is receptive skills. Okay. If you looked at your TP points and you found reading as a main aim or listening as a main aim, that means you have a receptive skill lesson. What else? You can have writing or speaking. So receptive skills, reading and listening, they have a specific framework. So once you see that your main aim is reading or listening, now you need to find the receptive skills framework. Okay. So if your main aim is writing or speaking, these are productive skills. So you need to find out, or you need to go and find the productive skills framework. We have 2 frameworks here, speaking framework and writing framework. Speaking and writing. So you need to pick the framework suitable for your main aim. If you're teaching a structure like if conditionals, or let's say present perfect continuous or past simple, question tags, if you're teaching passive, reported speech, this is a grammar lesson. So you need to find a suitable framework based on your main aim and the materials you have. Remember, we do not decide the main aim ourselves. Like you are on a TEFL course or in CELTA courses as well, the tutors give the trainees or the teachers the main aim. Why? We need to make sure that you teach a variety of lessons, not only a couple of grammar lessons, a couple of vocabulary, a couple of reading or listen. We need to make sure that you taught everything, or mostly everything. It doesn't have to be everything, but at least you teach receptive skills, productive skills at two different levels, or to two different levels. You teach grammar and vocabulary to two different levels. We need to see you able to teach elementary students grammar, vocabulary, reading, writing, and so on, or listening, speaking, receptive and productive. We want to see you able to teach higher levels. The same thing, a variety of aims. So once you look at your material and your TP points, and you decide your, actually you make sure your main aim is so and so, one of these, you need to go to the suitable framework. What are the frameworks? Frameworks for each lesson, one framework means a set of stages ordered in a specific way to achieve the aim. It keeps your class absolutely organized. What to do, when to do it, how to do it. That's the framework. It gives you the organization and the order of each stage. Let's move on. Okay. So I tried to collect all the frameworks we studied throughout the course in one slide. We have the receptive skills framework. خدتوا بالكم بقى من التسرع؟ شايفين الاف بتاعت framework receptive skills عامله ازاي؟ مش شبههم كلهم. Okay, so receptive skills framework, like for reading and listening, text-based presentation framework, test, teach, test, guided discovery, speaking framework, and writing framework. All these are the frameworks we introduced throughout the course in different sessions. حطيتها لكم كلها في slide واحد. They're all in one slide to help you, you know, organize the ideas in your brains. See? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So whenever you're having a lesson plan, you have everything gathered in one PowerPoint, and actually all the frameworks gathered in one slide. So let's go back and say we have a lesson plan tomorrow. We have a reading lesson. Like our aim is reading. I looked at the TP points and I found out that my main aim is reading. I looked at the materials and I knew the pages and the exercises. I knew the text, also the text. Now I need to go to this session, which is overcoming planning anxiety, and look at the suitable frameworks. Yes, okay, it's a reading lesson. Let's check if Khalaf provided a slide for reading. Yes, he did. Okay, receptive skills framework, like for reading and listening, they are very similar to each other. Very similar, only we change the word reading with listening. That's it. So if we have a reading lesson, we usually have 5 stages. Number 1, as usual, lead in. The second one, we pre-teach the blocking words. The third stage, we teach a reading sub-skill. And if you don't know what the reading sub-skills are, you will need to go to teaching reading. It's another session, recorded session about teaching reading. We have some reading sub-skills. We start with a reading sub-skill that is not too challenging. It can be gist or specific information, this or that, for while reading one. For while reading two, we teach another reading sub-skill. It can be specific information or something more challenging like reading for detail. We teach two sub-skills. It doesn't matter which two sub-skills, because we want to teach our students most of them, but at least in a 45-minute lesson, we need to teach at least two sub-skills. We start with the least challenging. Thank you very much, Wafa, wallahi. Thank you very much. Thank you, Salama. Thank you. Thank you, Aya. Thank you. Thank you, Dua. Oh my God. Thank you very much for your nice words. Wallah. Okay, if you have a listening lesson, if your main aim is listening, you can go to the listening framework here, overcoming planning anxiety, and you look at the stages and you write the stages on a sticky note if you want. Think about the aim of each stage. It's actually recorded in the listening input session. You can visit this session and organize everything. Okay, what about other frameworks? If you looked at your TP points and materials and found out that your main aim is grammar, okay? Your main aim is grammar. And you have a text in the page. The text carries the structure you're teaching or the target language, which is, for example, past simple, the past simple tense. But it's going to be introduced through a text. What are the stages, or what's the most suitable framework for this lesson? We have a text and we're teaching grammar. Okay, text-based presentation framework. This is a very important decision when you discover the main aim and the materials, and you're able to link this main aim to the suitable framework. لو انت مش عارف هتربطهم ببعض، معلش ارجع لإيه؟ If you're not able to link, you can look at the main aim and the materials and look at the frameworks here. Okay, you will be better able to decide. Okay, so we have a grammar main aim and we have a text-based presentation framework. Oh my God, the word F in framework is small. No consistency. Let me just fix it because this kills me. These are mistakes for me, you know. I consider this a mistake. Okay, lovely. So how many stages do we have in the text-based presentation framework? We actually have 5 main stages: lead in, exposure, language clarification, controlled practice, and freer practice. Of course, after the controlled practice, we give the students feedback. After the freer practice, we give the students feedback, but I didn't include them as separate stages because it's, you know, eventual anyway. Like, we give a task, we give them feedback for it. Also, the exposure, it can be to a text, a written text, like they read in order to find a piece of information or in order to get the main idea. So we expose them to the target language naturally. It can also be listening. So they can listen or read to get exposed to the target language. So what are the most important stages for this framework? Always, the important stages are colored differently, like the same color of the frame. Let's get back to receptive skills. While reading 1 and while reading 2 are colored in yellow for listening. While listening 1 and while listening 2 are colored in orange. So these are the most important stages for this framework. And when I say the most important stages, I mean, if you're able, or if you were able to deliver these stages effectively, 90% the lesson will pass. Again, if you're able to deliver the most important stages for each framework effectively, that means 90% the lesson will be successful. Okay? So what are the important stages in this framework? Can you write them in the chat box? أنا بس بتأكد إن أنتوا لسه موجودين. محدش بيرد. No, lead in is not an important stage for. Excellent. Yes. So language clarification is very, very important because this is where you clarify and introduce the target language, meaning, pronunciation, and form, control practice, and freer practice. If you're teaching higher level, like intermediate, upper intermediate, advanced students, if you're teaching higher levels, we can say the language clarification stage and the freer practice stage are the most important stages. If you're teaching elementary, language clarification and the control practice, because they might not be able to do the freer practice without some support during the control practice stage. Again, language clarification and the practice are the most important stages for a language lesson. And we agree that language lessons, that means this term, language lessons, this term means your main aim is either grammar, vocabulary, or functional language. If your main aim is one of these, we call this a language lesson. If your main aim is reading or listening, this is a skills lesson, receptive. If your main aim is speaking or writing, this is a skills lesson, productive. Okay? So text-based presentation, the most important two stages are the language clarification and the practice. If it's a higher level, freer practice is more important than the controlled. If it's a lower level, controlled practice is more important than the freer. Okay. What's another framework? Guided discovery. Actually, some people, oh my God. مش عارف ايه المشكلة مع كلمة framework. اشمعنى الغلطة متكررة. مش مقتنع ان الاف capitalized. Okay. So guided discovery is actually a tweak of text-based. It's a little tweak. You can consider it another version of text-based. So we start with a lead-in, move on to the exposure. It can be listening or reading. Okay. Then we provide them with the guided discovery task that helps them understand and discover the meaning, the form, and we still need to do the pronunciation with them. But it also aims at MPF, clarifying meaning, pronunciation, and form, or the use, pronunciation, and form. It's a more student-centered framework, or it's a student-centered technique. Okay, so guided discovery is a variation of text-based, but the only difference is how do we clarify the language. In the text-based presentation, it's teacher-fronted. The teacher clarifies, elicits, and concept checks, and writes and everything, models and drills and writes. But here, the students discover the meaning and the form. Then we model and drill and we highlight the phonological features. But they actually depend on themselves and your guided discovery task in order to, learn the meaning or the use and the form at least. Okay. So if you looked at your TP points and the materials and found out that the TP points are telling you that your main aim is grammar, and you have a text, and in the clarification stage, you found some CCQs, or you found a task ready-made for you to help students discover the meaning and the form, that means this lesson is guided discovery. Okay? And I think Hamid provided you with some guided discovery tasks in the guided discovery session. Okay? And he differentiated between practice tasks and guided discovery. What are the most important stages here in the chat box? For higher levels, the guided discovery and the freer practice. For lower levels, the guided discovery and the controlled practice. These are the most important 2 stages. What if your main aim was vocabulary and you didn't find the text, instead you found a task? So you opened the book and you found the vocabulary, and there was a table asking you to ask your students to categorize the ways of cooking, for example. Okay? Or to categorize types of food under fruit, vegetables, and bakery, for example. And when the students categorize them effectively, that means they have some knowledge about these words. So this is a test, teach, test framework. It doesn't have a text. Instead, it has a task to measure the students' knowledge when it comes to this piece of language, usually suitable for vocabulary lesson. You know, it's used more with vocabulary lessons. Okay? Okay. So again, you looked at the TP points, you found a vocabulary lesson, usually, and you looked at the materials, you didn't find the text, but you found that there is a task to help students or to help us see how much students know about this vocabulary set or this lexical set. Okay, so there was a task. That means the framework is test, teach, test. Task-based presentation. We actually don't have a task-based presentation lesson for you on this course, but if you want to relate it to task-based, it's more or it's much closer to speaking lessons. Okay, closer to speaking lessons, and I will answer your question there. Okay, so lead in, test 1, teach, test 2, freer practice. To be honest with you, the only difference between this framework and text-based framework is the exposure stage. The exposure stage in the text-based presentation or the guided discovery frameworks, we have a text, reading or listening, that carries the target language for us, naturally. What about test, teach, test? We don't have a text. Instead of the text, we have a test. And this test aims at diagnosing the students' needs and measuring their knowledge. Usually, with this framework, students have a task, maybe a matching task, words with pictures. So let's say that the students had 10 words or 12 words, and they were able to match 7 of them effectively and correctly. 7 words were matched with their appropriate pictures effectively, correctly. So the teacher knows now that they have knowledge about these 7 words. They know these 7 words. What should I clarify in the teach stage? What should I teach? The 5 other words. Are you going to teach the 12 words? No. The core of this framework is to help students with the difficult ones, the words they struggled with, in order to save time for the practice. They produce this in freer practice and control practice. See? So if you're teaching them 16 words and they were able to do 10 words correctly, you just teach them the 6 words they struggled with. Don't teach them the 16 words, because that would be a waste of time. We need more time for them to practice. That's why we love teach test framework. It helps students with words they don't know very well. Again, lead in, test 1, teach, test 2, freer practice. Lead in, test 1 to diagnose their needs and measure their knowledge. Based on the result of this test, I will tailor my teach stage, which is similar to language clarification, meaning, pronunciation, and form. That's just another name for this framework. But they actually, or teachers actually clarify meaning, pronunciation, and form in the teach stage. We move on to test 2. Actually, this is like controlled practice, but it's a different name for this framework. So we give them a controlled practice task. And finally, freer practice, and this is the same, even the same name for text-based presentation. We use the same name, freer practice. And actually, you can call it test 3. Some people call it that, but I prefer freer practice. Again, if you looked at the materials and your TP points, you found your main aim is vocabulary, and you found a task instead of a text for the vocabulary. That means you're using test, teach, test framework. Okay. If they actually succeeded to get everything correctly, which is highly unlikely, Amira. This is highly unlikely to get everything correct in the test 1 stage, in the diagnostic test stage. This is highly unlikely. But if this is the case, your job is going to be only to highlight the problematic words when it comes to phonology. If you got like a word like determined in the test 1, and they were able to match it effectively with its definition, for example, you need to make sure that they pronounce it correctly. So maybe there will be a touch on pronunciation before they move to the practice, or before they move to test 2 and the freer practice. Okay, so we touch on the phonology, then we move on to the practice. But apparently, they don't have a problem with the meaning. Usually, the first test 1, I prefer an individual task to diagnose individual needs. And if you're teaching online, I prefer you do this on Google Forms or WordWall or any tool online to help you see which words they missed. Because if they're doing this on a piece of paper, you will not be able to see their answers in test 1, and you will not be able to tailor your teach stage accordingly. If it's online, you need to use Google Form or a Google Form, because it gives you the answers. You see how they answered and whether their answers were correct or not, and it gives you some kind of statistics on the questions they missed. Google Form or Google Quizzes will tell you about the questions or the words that the students mostly missed. So it will help you with the teach stage. If they answer in a piece of paper in an online class, you will not be able to see their answers. You use a tool like Google Form or Google Forms. Finally, not finally, I think we still have to. If you have a speaking lesson, you looked at the materials and you looked at the TP points. So the TP points said you have a speaking lesson. Your main aim is speaking. So you need to go to the materials and check. Usually in the speaking lesson, we have also this framework, or a framework similar to this. You start with a lead in, then they usually listen to an audio track that has a model of the speaking task they're producing in the end. So if the students are actually having a role play, this recommending places to visit, okay? Recommending, describing, and responding. So the students listen to two people. One of them is recommending and describing some places, and the other one is responding, for example. So why they're listening to something like this? Because actually, in the speaking stage towards the end, students will be doing the same, recommending and responding. Recommending, describing, and responding. Then you elicit the useful language needed for recommendation, needed for description, needed for responding, and you clarify the use, pronunciation, and form. Then you give them time to prepare themselves. You give them instructions, maybe to think of some places, restaurants, and maybe transportation at these places. Then you give them the time to do the speaking task itself. What are the two most important stages in this framework? Nancy, I didn't get your question. Write the questions till the end. Okay. The useful language, because that's needed for speaking, and the speaking task itself. So the lesson passes if these two stages were delivered effectively. Exactly. Yes. Useful language and speaking. What if you have a writing lesson? So you looked at the TP points, you found out that your main aim is writing. You looked at the materials, you found that your students are going to write a covering letter to apply for a job. So usually we have a lead-in, then we expose them to a model, like they read a real covering letter, like a model of the same task they're going to produce in the end. Then you need to help them see how it's organized. What did they start with? What did they include? How did they end the covering letter or the covering email? So they started with dear sir or dear sir / madam or ma'am, for example. Then they started with an introductory paragraph talking about their names, their name, qualifications, and abilities, then availability, then skills and languages, then finally a closing sentence, for example. So you show them how the genre, how this type of writing is organized. This is the genre analysis. In the exposure stage, they read the covering letter, and you provide them with a genuine reading task. Like in the previous framework, in the listening stage, you provide them with a genuine listening task. What do I mean by genuine listening task? Like a gist task or a specific information task or a detail task, whatever, but has to be short. Here in the writing framework, in the exposure stage, they're reading the same genre. They're going to write in the end. So if they're writing a covering letter or a covering email to apply for a job, they need to read one. They need to be exposed to the same genre they are going to write in the end. Our example is about a covering letter. So the reading passage or the text is actually a covering letter. And they are answering a question like, let's think of a gist question, like overall idea or the main idea of the text. Okay, why Andrew wrote this letter? So they read it quickly. Once they read it quickly, they will say to apply for a job or because he's applying for a job. Now they got the idea. Or you can ask them a couple of specific questions or a detailed task. For example, if it's a specific question, when is Andrew going to be available for his new job? Now they need to scan for a date. Okay, but scanning might, they might just get the answer and run to put it in the paper. So I prefer just task, like they read overall, or a detailed task, because it will require them to read a detailed task, but not many questions in the task, in order not to waste time on reading. Yes, Nancy, I prefer so. If you have questions, everybody, write the questions down. I will answer them towards the end. Thank you for your consideration. The useful language, the genre analysis, as I said, what are the components of this piece of writing? Okay, with introduction, the body, the closure. So introduction, you speak briefly about your qualifications. The body, you talk about your skills and the availability. The closure, you just ask them to, or thank them and tell them that you're going to wait for the response. And you say yours sincerely and so on. So that's how we organize it. What are the components of this piece of writing? If it's an invitation, you are helping your students to write an invitation. The genre analysis would be, we need to have the occasion mentioned in the invitation. So what is the invitation for? The place and the time, maybe extra information. These are the components of this genre. This type of writing, the name of the occasion, the place, the time, and any extra information like food, if you're allowed to bring food, the dress code, if you're bringing your children or not, if you're allowed to, and so on. So the genre is how it's organized and what the components are. How it is organized and what the components of this piece of writing are. The useful language. What do we actually need in order to write a covering letter? Do we have to teach them some specific words like bachelor, qualifications, vacancy, available? Do we need some specific words that might appear in all the covering letters? We need to think of that. And a clever teacher will be able to analyze the needed words and extract them from the text and teach them to the students. What kind of grammar might be needed here? Present simple, to talk about facts and routines in your life and your skills. Okay, present simple. What else? Are you currently doing something? So present continuous, that will help the company. Something like you started doing in the past, still doing in the present, and continue doing in the future? Yes. Okay, so they need a touch on present perfect continuous. So an effective teacher will be able to look at this piece of writing in the exposure stage and decide the useful language the students need. That means some vocabulary will definitely appear in this genre and some grammar that will definitely help with this genre. That's your job when it comes to a writing lesson. You look at the exposure stage that you expose the students to and expose yourself to it. You need to expose yourself to this piece or this genre and see what the components are for the genre analysis, what the useful language needed to write something like this in the future, even for your own knowledge. See? And when it comes to the useful language in a writing lesson, you need to highlight or clarify the meaning or the use and the form. Maybe not the phonology, because they are not speaking. so they don't need the pronunciation that much. Then you move on to writing. You help them brainstorm the genre analysis with the useful language. You help them brainstorm these two stages together, and you elicit some ideas. You show them the structure, and they start writing. Okay? So genre analysis, useful language, and writing are the most important stages for this framework. Okay. So time allocation. If you remember, that was the third or the fourth question. How to allocate time for stages. So the first question, after we look at the TP points and the materials, what's my main aim? The main aim will help you answer the second question, which is what's the most suitable framework? Question number 3, what are the most important stages in this framework? Number 4, how to allocate time for the stages. And we are at number 4 now. How to allocate time for the stages. We're almost done. But to answer this question effectively, let's go to our Google Classroom. Classwork. Teach and practice. And let's look at the lesson plan that you're going to fill. Don't panic. Don't. Okay. So you're not writing anything here in the overall comment. You just write your name, the lesson focus, TP number, number of students, the date, the level, and the time. But this is for the tutor to fill. Also, this is for the tutor to fill. And here, you're going to write your main aim, sub-aim, personal aims, your language analysis sheet, some anticipated problems and solutions. And here is the procedure page. So let's say that your main aim is reading. And you looked at the materials and the TP points, your main aim is reading. What are you gonna do? Number 1, what are you gonna do? You decided the main aim and you're able to spot it in the TP points. So you need to go to the suitable framework, receptive skills. Remember the receptive skills framework? So you write the name. Sorry. Do you see my screen? Yes. Lead in. That's the first stage. The second stage is, if you remember, pre-teach. Right? Third stage, remember? While reading 1. I clicked on tab. It created another box for the fourth stage. It doesn't have to be for gist, Marwa. It can be for specific information. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be like gist all the time. We can start with the specific information, and while reading two can be detail. It is not a must to start with gist. Then while reading two, click on tab, 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 tab. When I click on tab, it creates another lane for me. Like, what's the final stage? عارفة scamming يعني إيه يا سمر؟ Scamming؟ عارفة يعني إيه دي؟ When you scam somebody؟ ليه نعمل كده في الليسون بلان يا سمر؟ هناخد بالنا. لو عملت scamming هناخد بالنا. Okay, the last one. Post reading. I want you to imagine that you just put the stages together. Now you know how your lesson will go, like the order of the stages. انت متخيل انت بس مجرد ما تشوف المنظر ده خلاص الدرس اترتب، في عبء نفسي هنا اتشال. اوكي، اتشال، الدرس اترتب بمزاج بقى. انا بعمل الليد ان ليه؟ So I need to answer this question. Why am I delivering a lead in a stage? For example, usually it's to engage the students and set the context of the lesson. Okay, why do I pre-teach the vocabulary? I need to ask myself why. If you don't remember why you pre-teach vocabulary, please run to the recorded session. خدت بالك فايدة الريكوردد سيشنز ايه؟ ان انت معاك reference تقدر ترجع له whenever you're teaching reading. Okay, so why am I pre-teaching vocabulary? Thank you, Summer. انا هاخدها copy paste من كلامك ايه؟ مش راضي يعمل copy. هاخد كلامك copy paste. نشوف هتيجي ولا لا. ما جاتش. مش راضي يكتبها. To unblock the difficult words and make the lesson more accessible, or the text, to make the text more accessible. Okay, what's the third stage while reading one? Let's say it was scanning. Okay, scanning for specific information. So هتعرف منين إذا كانت scanning ولا؟ How would you know if it was scanning or skimming? Your understanding of the sub-skills will tell you. So you look at the task, okay, this task is asking me to fill in the gaps, and the gaps are numbers and proper nouns, percentages, dates, names of people, names of places. So we can scan for that. Okay. To develop students scanning strategy and help them improve their reading for specific information sub-skill. Lovely. So I've got the aim to the third stage. Okay, while reading two, okay, is asking the students why something happened, how it happened. So I think they need to read for detail. Okay, to develop students intensive reading strategy and improve their reading for detail sub-skill. Okay. The last stage, post-reading. In the session, okay, we had post-reading. It can be either speaking or writing. What was the purpose for post-reading stage? I forgot. Okay, let's go to the recording. We have a reference to go back to. Don't leave yourself lost. You have something to guide you. And not only for the course. Not only for the course. If you have a demo and the school asked you to prepare a reading lesson or a speaking lesson or a writing lesson or a grammar lesson, you can go to the recording and revise. You can go to this session and check which framework is suitable. See? So post-reading, okay, to help students respond, or let's say reflect on the text and respond to it productively, or to improve their fluency. So you have a fluency aim. Okay. Yes, your sub aim can be speaking or writing, Marwa. Okay. Can be speaking or writing. It can also be the vocabulary. If you have some vocabulary in the pre-teach and this vocabulary is going to be needed for the post-reading, your sub-aim can be vocabulary. But mostly, your sub-aim is the last stage, which is post-reading or post-listening. The speaking or the writing task. Okay, in the follow-up one. The follow-up stage, which is, there is another name for post-reading or post-listening. We can call it follow-up. طب انا دلوقتي خلاص بقى عندي ايه؟ بقى عندي السكeleton. I have the skeleton. الباقي سهل. بقى عندي الهيكل. الباقي سهل. So time allocation. So time allocation, we need to allocate time to the most important stages first. Let me tell you about that again. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. So we said we have a reading lesson. So these are the most important stages. Do you agree with me? Without them, the aim is not going to be achieved. So while reading 1 and while reading 2. So these are the 2 most important stages. Okay. So I need to go to the time lane, which is here. While reading 1, it's for specific information, and we have 6 points in the task. Okay, how do I allocate time for this stage? Let me try and answer the questions myself. I am a teacher, but I will do the task while planning. Okay, number 1, let me scan the timer. Okay, let me use my stopwatch. This is my stopwatch on my phone. Okay. Once I click on my stopwatch, I start answering the task as if I am a student. Okay, answer number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Okay, lovely. Stop the stopwatch. Oh, it took me 3 minutes to do it. I'll give my students 5 or 6. 1.5 of the time you took because you are C1 or B2. That means you're going to be faster than your students. It took you 3 minutes. Give your students 5 or 6. Okay. If they are lower levels, like if they are elementary, you give them 6 or 7. The double plus a minute. This is how you allocate the time in the, so let's say this lesson is for elementary, 7 minutes. Okay, how did I decide the time? Haphazardly, or did I do the task myself and double the time? Okay, if it's intermediate or upper intermediate, it took me 3 minutes. Okay, I'll give them 5 because they are stronger than elementary. So if it took me 3 minutes as upper intermediate or advanced, the intermediate will take a couple minutes more than me, maybe. So 5 minutes. So I'm not going to write 7 minutes. I'm going to write 5 to 7 minutes. See, time window, because it's crazy if you decide 7 minutes. It can be like 4 minutes, 30 seconds. They might surprise you. It can take 7 minutes, 30 seconds or 8. So be a bit flexible. Provide us, the assessors, with a time window, not a fixed time in the plan. Okay, what about the second task? Oh, it was intensive reading and it has 7 questions. How much time do I need to allocate here? 10? No. Let me try and do the task itself myself. I'll do it myself. Stopwatch. Start reading the questions, answering, reading the text and answering. Oh, it took me 5 minutes or 6 minutes. Okay, if it's elementary, I'll give the students 10 or 12. If it took me 5, I'll give them 10. Okay, elementary students. So let's say from 10 to 12 minutes. This is how I allocate time. So I decided the time for the most important stages first. يعني ايه مش هبدأ من الأول؟ مش هحط الوقت بتاع الليد ان الأول؟ لا. هضمن وقت الامبورتنت ستيجز الأول، بعد كده أوزع اللي يفيد على الباقي. خد بالك دي لوحدها لما أنا عرفتها متأخر قوي. والله عرفتها متأخر قوي. I allocate the time for the most important stages first. Then I allocate the rest accordingly. I need to guarantee that the important stages will take their time. The rest are not as important. The other stages are not as important as the main stages for this framework. If you're teaching reading, the main stages are while reading 1 and while reading 2. Okay. Lovely. When you're teaching receptive skills, it is not dangerous because the main aim happens in the middle of the lesson. The main aim happens in the middle of the lesson. So now I spent around 19 minutes for the main aim. How much do I still have? I still have 26 minutes. 26, because you're teaching for 45 minutes. Okay? So 45 minutes, if you spend around 19 minutes on the reading, that means you still have 26 minutes, and we actually count the high end of each stage. Like if you say, while reading 1 will take between 5 to 7, that means we will count the 7. If you tell me that while reading 2 will take 10 to 12, we will count the 12. So 7 plus 12 equal 19. 19 taken from 45, we still have 26 minutes. So let's say we will give them a good follow-up task where they speak and develop fluency, let's say between 12 and 16. We still have 10 minutes. Okay, those 10 minutes can be allocated to the lead-in. It can be 3 to 4 minutes. And the pre-teach vocabulary can be between 4 and 6 minutes. طب لما نيجي نعد كده الوقت. when we count the time, we count the high end. 4 plus 6, 10, 17, 17 and plus 12, let's say 29. No, 17 plus 12. Yes, 29. Plus 16, let's say plus 10, 39 plus 6, 45 minutes. So now your tutor will say, good job, you planned for 45 minutes. خدت بالك من الحسبة بتتعمل ازاي؟ اوكي. انا كده بقى معايا الستيجز والستيج aims والوقت. Now I have the stages, the stage aims, and the time for each stage. How? The procedure. I think we provided you with a lesson plan example. You just describe how you're going to achieve the aim. Like you give me the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you're not sure, you can go back to the lesson plan examples. You will see how we write the procedure, which answers the question how you're achieving the stage aim. كده هترجع للسيشن بتاعت الريدنج عشان تبص على lesson plan. I might provide you with a reading lesson plan example and a writing lesson plan example, a speaking lesson plan example, a grammar one. So you use them as reference of what you need to work on. Okay? How you write the procedure. This is a roadmap for you on how to write. I'll provide you with the examples. Don't worry. I will. Okay. So I might create a topic in our Google Classroom and provide you with written lesson plans. Actually, the one or the teacher who wrote them was one of my CELTA trainees, and she got pass A. But again, don't copy paste. I will show you the examples for your reference to see how she writes the procedure. And for the observer comments, you don't write anything here. Some tutors will leave you some notes in this box. Okay? So again, if you promise me that you're not going to copy, paste, because we will know if you copy, paste from the lesson plans, I'll upload them. I need to get your promises. But I'll send you a question on WhatsApp. You just write, I promise. You click on I promise. Okay? So it is from a CELTA candidate who got pass A. And she allowed me to use her materials. She allowed me to do so. I'm not stealing her work. I was allowed by her. Okay. So now, if we have a speaking lesson, if your main aim was speaking, what would you do? Or if your main aim is speaking, what will you do? That's more logical grammar. Okay, you need to go to the speaking framework, right? What does it start with? Lead in. The second stage is exposure, right? The third stage is useful language, if you remember. The fourth stage is brainstorming and preparation. Okay, the last stage is speaking. If you look here, it's actually dangerous. Why? No, you add nothing in the observer's comment. No, if you're the teacher who's filling the template, the observer's comments are only for the assessor, the tutor who's assessing the lesson. Why speaking is quite dangerous? Because it happens in the end. It happens in the end, and you need to give feedback after they finish speaking. When I say it happens in the end, I'll tell you about a trap that most teachers fall into. Usually teachers, خد بالك من الحتة دي هتحصل لك داخليا. Please pay attention because this is an internal struggle that happens to all teachers. It happened. It actually happened to me. Okay, it did. I always felt like the 45 minutes are too much and I'm not going to arrive at the final stage. And if I arrive at the final stage, I feel like I will still have 10 minutes to fill. That's why I relaxed with the lead-in. I took my time with the lead-in. The tutor said the approximate time is 3-5 minutes tops or 6 minutes maximum. I felt like, oh my God, I need to stretch this in order to fill in the time. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do not exceed 5 minutes in the lead-in stage, because the lesson plans and the TP points are actually tailored for 45 minutes. So if you spend more than 5-6 minutes in the lead-in, maybe the final stage will not fit in the 45 minutes. And once the 45 minutes are up, the tutor will stop you. You need to stop. You need to end your lesson smoothly in 10 seconds. يعني ايه اللي هيحصل؟ يعني انت بتشغل التايمر، واسمعوا النصيحة دي يا جماعة بقلوب مفتوحة وأذان صاغية. موبايلك في إيدك، بتستخدم منه حاجة اسمها التايمر، بتضغط على الكلوك بتاعتك، ما تستخدمش ستوب واتش. Don't use your stopwatch. You use your timer and set it to 45 minutes. بس انتوا هتلاقوه مفتوح عندي على 45 minutes على طول. ليه؟ لأن أنا على طول بقيم دروس ثالثة. بسيبه يضرب عشان التيتشر يبقى عارف إن الدرس خلص. وهو برضو لازم بيظبط. احنا بندي إشارة لبعض كده. Start. Once you display your screen on the, you display your PowerPoint on the screen, I start the 45 minutes and you need to start the 45 minutes as well. And this is a golden piece of advice because this will help you balance your pace. يعني ايه الكلام ده؟ يعني ايه؟ يعني انا لو عملت ناصح بصيت في الساعة، انا بدأت 9:35، يعني 45 دقيقة هيبقوا كام يعني؟ اخلص 10 وتلت. تحسبش كده حبيب قلبي. انت بمجرد ما بتبدأ الدرس بتحس ان انت منعزل عن العالم، انت بتبقى مركز ان انت تعمل اللي عليك، فهتبص على الساعة هتلاقيها 10:10 او 10:05. ايه ده؟ هو انا لسه كده قدامي قد ايه؟ 10:05 انا 10 وتلت، قدامي 25 دقيقة. طب انا كده فات قد ايه؟ ما تعملش كده في نفسك. The timer will exactly tell you how much time left. It will tell you how much time left. So you look here, I still have 25 minutes. مش هتعمل اي عمليه حساب، مفيش وقت تعمل عمليه حسابيه وانت قاعد بتدرس، بالذات وانت حد بيقيمك وبيكتب فيك تقرير مهما كان طيب ومحترم وحنين وكل حاجه. مفيش وقت تعمل عمليه حسابيه. You don't have time to calculate. You don't. So the countdown timer, this is a golden piece of advice. ممكن تسالوا عليها عمرو او لورا اللي هم خدوا سلطه. الاثنين خدوها اونلاين معايا. عمرو خدها في الفيوتشر، واعتقد لورا خدتها معايا في IH كايرو. الاثنين درسوا معايا. الكاونت داون تايمر ده هيقول لك انت فين ومحتاج تعمل ايه. Because once you look at your timer, you know how much time is still left. You can make a better decision. ما تسيبش نفسك في العراء كده من غير ما تبقى عارف انت قدامك قد ايه. Especially if you have a speaking lesson. هتقعد تحسب ايه ده، الساعه بقت 10 و17 وانا كنت قايل هخلص كام؟ 10 وتلت. هو لسه 3 دقايق؟ معقولة؟ معقولة الوقت ده كله مفيش وقت؟ حديث النفس ده وحديث الروح ده مش هينفع. مش هينفع. So what are you going to use in order to keep track of time? Are you going to use your watch, your clock on the wall, your stopwatch, or the countdown timer? Which one? And I'm not joking. You will understand why I am stressing this point that much when you start the teaching practice. You will understand why. So I'm not joking. This is very important. It will help you make better decisions while teaching. I cannot stress that more than what I did. Okay? Your countdown timer will save you. Because if the time goes up before you do the speaking or before you do the writing, which is the final step or the final stage, the lesson fails. Not to standard. Okay? The lesson fails. هتقول له اديني 5 دقايق واديني 10 دقايق، لو التيوتر كان حنين واداك ال10 دقايق برضه الدرس سقط. مفيش فيها كلام. So your countdown timer is very important. طيب انت وانت بتعمل البريباريشن بتاع السبيكنج لقيت لسه قدامك 10 دقايق ولسه هتبدأ البريباريشن، محتاج تنجز البريباريشن في دقيقة. تخيل التايمر هو اللي قال لك انت لسه قدامك 10 دقايق، لو عملت بريباريشن في 7 8 دقايق زي ما انت مقرر في البلان هيتكلموا دقيقة، يبقى انت عملت ليد ان جميل 5 6 دقايق، وعملت اكسبوجر جميل 7 8 دقايق، وعملت يوسفول لانجوج جميلة في ربع ساعة ولا في تلت ساعة، وعملت بريباريشن جميل في 7 8 دقايق وما اتكلموش. لازمته ايه بقى كل اللي فات ده؟ If you give me the best lead in, the best exposure, the best useful language stage, the best preparation stage, and time goes up before they speak enough time, the lesson doesn't count. You didn't achieve your aim. And if the main aim is not achieved, the lesson doesn't pass. So the countdown timer is very important. So if it's a speaking lesson, we allocate the time for the speaking first. 12 to 15 minutes. Not less than 15 minutes, including feedback, not less than that. You start by allocating the time to the most important stages first. So speaking, 12 to 15 minutes, and the useful language stage, like 10 to 15 minutes. So now I spent 30 minutes on 2 stages? Yes. How can I allocate the time for the rest? تعال. Now I have 15 minutes because my time or the duration allowed for the lesson is 45 minutes. I spent 15 on the useful language and I spent 15 on the speaking task. I still have 15. Okay, the lead in is 3 to 4 minutes. Okay. Okay. I still have 11 minutes. So the exposure stage is 6 minutes. Okay. I still have 5 minutes for the preparation. Like 3 to 5 minutes. What if my lead-in stage was like a discussion made of 4 questions? Now I need that will take 7 8 minutes. Okay, let's cut the questions down. This is what we call material adaptation. Let's cut this down to 2 or 3 minutes. How? Let's cut the questions to, or reduce the questions to 1 or 2 questions. Can you imagine that? So if the book is giving you 4 questions or 5 questions for the lead-in, okay, the lead-in task is 5 questions. You can reduce the 5 questions to 1 or 2. Seriously? Yes, seriously. Okay, because the lead-in stage is not as important as the speaking, is not as important as the useful language. So if you give me a fantastic lead-in stage and time is not enough for the speaking, the lesson is failing. And I'm not going to say, because you provided them with a good lead-in stage, I will let go and I will pass you. No. The weight of the lead-in stage is not as heavy as the speaking stage. Material adaptation. Okay. My exposure stage, the listening task itself, the track. The track alone is 3 minutes or 4 minutes. And I have maximum 6 minutes for the whole stage. أنت متخيل؟ The whole stage has maximum of 6 minutes. So the track is 4 minutes and they have 5 questions in the listening task. Let's cut them down to 1 question. I'm not here to develop their listening sub skills. Let's cut them to 1 or 2 questions in this task. طب ما حدش هيقول لك حاجه من التيوترز؟ لا، ما حدش هيقول لك حاجه. هيقول لك شاطر ان انت عملت ادابتيشن. استاذ بتفكر صح عشان توفر وقت للستيج المهمه جدا. تخيل انت حد دافع لك 150 جنيه ولا 200 جنيه عشان تقعد معاه ساعه تظبط الفلوينسي بتاعه. Like the spoken language. I want you to imagine this. Somebody paid you 200 pounds to work with them for 1 hour to help them with the speaking. فانت اديته lead in جميل ربع ساعة. And you gave them exposure stage. Fantastic. 15 minutes. Then you clarified the useful language in 20 minutes. كده ربع ساعة lead in, ربع ساعة exposure, 20 minutes useful language. And you gave him good preparation time, like to prepare his ideas in 10 minutes. الساعة خلصت وهو عنده meeting دلوقتي، هو لازم يمشي. هياخد معاك تاني؟ هيرجع لك يقول لك ظبط لي السبيكنج تاني؟ ولا خلاص كده؟ الساعة خلصت وهو ما اتكلمش. So what's the most important stage? If you finish early, you can have another speaking task as well. You prepare another speaking task around the same topic. Okay? But that is highly unlikely to happen if you give them a good useful language stage and if you follow the timer. Okay? So if you follow your timer, you're not going to finish early. Okay, so again, if the speaking task had an audio track of 4 minutes and 5 questions on the audio track, you can cut the questions into 1 or 2. You don't have to give them the 5 questions. You adapt the material. Then you move on to the useful language needed for speaking, and you highlight meaning, pronunciation, and form. Help them with understanding the meaning, help them with modeling and drilling, with like to improve their pronunciation. Then you show them the form, highlight the form. Then you move on to the preparation stage. You set the task and elicit ideas to help them with ideas. So they get the language and they get some ideas. Then you move on to the speaking. After they finish speaking, you give them feedback, content and linguistic feedback. Okay. So again, the role play is not going to happen because they listen carefully. The role play will happen because they understood the idea, what they are speaking about. They understood the useful language. Then you provide them with the preparation time. And finally, they have time to speak. Listening carefully does not guarantee that they're going to speak fluently. What guarantees that they're going to speak effectively is understanding the overall of everything we provide them with. They get a model, even if it was for gist, because they're not going to remember what happened if even if it was very careful listening. The useful language needed to speak. And finally, the preparation time and the brainstorming, then they will speak. So if you spend time on an intensive listening task and you still have time for the speaking, I agree with you. But if the listening will eat up the speaking time, you didn't help them at all. So the language analysis sheet, you write it here. We have a space for the language analysis sheet. So this is an analysis sheet if you are teaching vocabulary. And here is one if you're teaching grammar. It's all in the same document. And the tutor writes the feedback on top of this document. Okay, so let's go back to how we allocate the time. We allocate the time to the most important stage first. In a speaking lesson, the speaking task is the most important stage. Also, the useful language is a very important stage. So you allocate time to these two stages first. So that's the idea of time allocation. بس عشان لو سبت ده كده موجود هتدخلوا تلاقي الحاجات دي موجودة. حامد يزعل. Okay, I'll remove it later. Okay, so let's get back to the frameworks. Again, if you have a speaking lesson, you need to, your main aim is speaking, you need to come back to overcoming planning anxiety, look at the speaking framework, and you will find the most important stages highlighted with the same color of the frame. So here in test, teach, test, the most important stages are highlighted in red. Why? Because the frame is red. The teach and the freer practice if it's a higher level, and the teach and test 2 if it's a lower level. Okay. Lovely. Allocating time goes with the most important stages first, then what remains should be allocated to the other stages. So what happens to the other stages if we had limited time? What happens? We shrink and tailor, also adapt the task to suit the time available. Okay. And how do I adapt materials? How do I do that? I am almost done. يعني أنا خلاص قربت أخلص يا مروة. يعني ناخد بريك ونتأخر بقى، فاهمة؟ يعني I still have around 15 minutes or less. How do we adapt materials? Do you remember the technology session where I provided you with some tools? You need to go to these tools and take a look because these tools will help you. Image to text. You can use Google Keep. What does Google Keep do? How would Google Keep help you? Let me show you. Do you know how to take a screenshot of from your computer? You learn how to, let me share my screen again. Okay. Let's say I had a screenshot of this, but let me open Google Keep first. What is Google Keep? Google Keep is a tool to take notes. See? Let me show you. Google Keep. I take my notes in Google Keep. So I download it to my, or I use it on the browser. Okay. So take a note. Let's say text 1 or reading lesson or whatever. So I take a note here. See, let me use any picture. So I just need to get a picture. Any picture. VIP certificate. Okay, this is a picture. Open it in Google Keep. We cannot upload this file. We accept GIF, JPEG, PNG. This is a PNG, my friend. PNG, for God's sake. Cannot upload the file. Ah, okay. Less than 10 megabytes. So it's a big size. I'm sorry. Okay, let me take a screenshot of something else. BBC. Screenshot is usually small size. خلينا نقول ان انا خدت سكرين شوت من الحتة دي. This image. Okay, and I go back to Google Keep, upload it in Google Keep. Now, Google Keep has this image. Can you see? Like, it's a picture, right? It's a picture. Remember, I took a screenshot. I click here on the 3 dots, grab image text. يعني لو انت عندك صفحة الكتاب التكست مكتوب بشكل مش مساعدك ان انت تعرضه للستودنتس، فانت عايز تكتبه بشكل مختلف، ما تقعدش تكتبه بايدك كده. ما تقعدش تكتب من اول كلمة لاخر كلمة. No, you can take a picture of the part you want to take. You want to type screenshot from the book and you upload it to Google Keep. Click on the 3 dots, grab image text. خدت بالك ايه اللي حصل؟ Copy paste. اهو. Control C. In a second, I uploaded the picture. It became a text. That's it. How did it become a text? I clicked on the 3 dots, grab image text. انت دلوقتي لو عندك تكست في الكتاب ومش عارف تعرضه لان الصفحه طويله حاطينه بالطول مضايقك، فانت عايز تعمله بورتري. مش عارف تعمله بورتري ازاي؟ سكرين شوت. upload the screenshot to Google Keep, grab image text. خلاص التكست عندك بقى كوبي بيست، تحطه في سلايد، تحطه في وورد، تحطه زي ما ايه ما انت عايز في اي تول انت حاببها. easier for the students. Okay, lovely. في أداة تانية اسمها online OCR .net. online OCR .net. select a file, upload like maximum file size 15 megabytes, even stronger than Google Keep. خلينا نحط البتاع اللي ما كانش وراه دي، نحطها. That's I uploaded the image which is TEFLism certificate. What do you want to upload it to? Microsoft Word, Excel? So Word, okay. Convert. Like 6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1. Processing. كل حاجة مكتوبة جوه الدوكيمنت. ممكن كمان يقول لك download output file. Download the word file. كده الايمج اتحولت لتكست. You will need this in order not to type everything from the scratch. Okay? This is important. What if the book quality that you're using is not really great and the image is not clear? There is a website that helps with improving the quality. If you look here, upscale.media. Like if you have an image, even at home for one of your friends or one of your grandparents, and you want to improve the quality, you can enhance it using upscale.media. It's an effective tool to improve the quality of your pictures or the quality of your, handouts. If the image is not clear, if the book is old, upscale, and it's for free. .media. You upload the image here, and it will generate a better image for you. You can use it for your pictures as well. If you have a picture that is not really good, somebody took it for you and it was blurry a little bit, you can upload it to your website and it will improve the quality for you. If you look here, look, the bag was not really good, but after they used upscale, it became way better. So we use this to improve the screenshots if they're not clear from the book. Upscale makes it better. Protection. انت ليه بتصعبها عليا يا مستر احمد ابراهيم؟ يعني ليه بتصعب الموضوع عليا قوي كده؟ يعني ليه بتفكر في سيناريو عنيف قوي كده؟ والله لا، تفائل شويه يا صديقي، تفائل. The books we are providing you with are not going to have restrictions. Okay? Don't worry. Yes, it's like magic, Nancy. You upload the image with text and you click on the 3 dots, grab image text in a second. You find it. So that will save you a lot of time and effort typing it will give you the word itself or the wording of the text, and you do whatever you want with it. What should we include in the PPT? You should include whatever is going to help your students. So pictures, questions, sometimes tasks, okay? Whatever is going to help your students. I'm going to show you something now. I hope Hamid doesn't kill me for it. I'm not going to share it soon. I'll share it bit by bit without Hamid noticing. Okay, it's about Shaima''s work. Okay, so I'm trying to find it. So my drive Shayma Ahmed, her TPs. So that's a speaking lesson for Shayma Ahmed, for example. That's the lesson plan. Do you see my screen? Yes. Okay. This is how she wrote her main aim. By the end of the lesson, or by the end of this lesson, my students will have been better able to speak fluently in the context of food. And speaking, listening for specific information in context of food. That's a language analysis sheet. And if you look here, the lead in, to orient the students to the topic food, or to set the context of the lesson, or to engage the students, you need to take permission from Hamid, because Hamid thinks that English lesson planner doesn't help you become good at lesson planning. So you can use ChatGPT on a very limited scale and make sure you revise the answers. Very limited scale. References will help you more than ChatGPT. So the time she allocated 5 to 7 minutes to the lead-in. شوف بقى هي كاتبة البروسيجر ازاي. Steps. هتعمل ايه بالظبط عشان تحقق الايم ده؟ What is she going to do in order to achieve the stage aim? Number one, greet the students by saying, welcome my class, while displaying the welcome slide on my PPT. Tell students my name again, my name is Shayma and I'll be your teacher today. مش سايبة فرصة إنها تنسى حاجة. The listening task, which is the exposure stage. Okay, she allocated 5 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes, and even the ICQs, useful language, to clarify the word target here is not accurate, to clarify the useful language that the students will need in the speaking task, 7 to 9 minutes. Preparation, speaking, feedback. You can just add content and language feedback to the speaking task, but like after the speaking task here, or you can add it as a separate stage. Nancy asked me, what if I finished early? Shayma was ready with another task, flexi activity. You know, if time allowed her to do it, she's going to do the task and she will use the time left in the lesson. She actually didn't decide time here. And that's a summary of her slides. Summer asked me what goes on the slides. Let's see what Shayma added to her slides. That was my feedback report about Shayma's lesson. See, I started with an excellent lesson with the intermediate group, Shayma. That's my name. Main aim, sub aim. That's my signature. So let's look at her PowerPoint slides. And see what was included. What can you see in the photo? Look at how organized her first slide is. When you go somewhere and you deliver a demo, your materials will tell them how organized you are. Your lesson plan will tell them how knowledgeable you are. Which food do you like most? See? What does each person eat now? That's the listening task. She adds the audio to read and match the phrases. Some useful language. So they were talking about the advantages of street food and the disadvantages of street food. One person from group one. Okay. Imagine you have a stall in street. That's the flexi activity. I will sneak the lesson plan and the materials to your Google Classroom. Okay. Hamid, I think he's not going to say anything, but he always worries about copying and pasting. He worries about that. I'm not sure, why he worries that much. He wants you to create everything on your own, and I believe in examples. So I'll provide you with the examples. And if he says anything, I'll tell him teachers need that. Okay. He actually refused. He didn't allow me to do it for the previous course. And I hope he doesn't remove it until, I'll sneak it one by one. Okay. One by one. Okay. It wasn't uploaded, and they will see the recording and they will know that I will give it a try with you. Okay. So I don't think you will paraphrase, because each lesson has its own materials and aims. Maybe the stages and the stage aims and the the time for each stage can be similar, but you cannot paraphrase, because achieving the aim will have a different task, not the same task. Okay, Maha. Okay. And I might share the whole folder for Shaima''s work on our WhatsApp group. The link to the whole folder. If it is not on Google Classroom, I will share the link to Shaima''s folder. Okay? You go download it, then we're safe. But again, if you copy paste from this, you will harm yourself. You're not actually learning. I'm providing you with this as a reference. You see how it was organized, how much detail went in the lesson, and so on. Not to copy paste. He will not be able to remove a message I sent. مش هيمد ايده عليا يعني. هيعمل ايه يعني؟ Okay. So how do we write aims, the main aim and the sub aim? We have 3 parts in each aim. The introductory phrase by the end of the lesson, students will have been better able to. That's how we start the aim. Then we mention the target, like if it's reading, we need to mention the detail or the details of this aim. Read for gist and specific information, maybe read for specific information and detail, whatever. You need to relate your main aim to the stages. يعني انت عندك 2 tasks. You have 2 tasks in the reading lesson. One for gist and one for detail. المين aim لازم يبقى مرتبط بالstages دي. Your main aim would be by the end of the lesson, students will have been better able to read for gist and detail in the context of شو بقى هيقروا عن ايه؟ Like food, traveling, happiness, what's the topic? See? No, you don't need Shaimaa because you have all the sessions recorded. Can you imagine that Shaimaa herself doesn't have access to any recorded sessions like you? So you are actually wealthier than Shaimaa. Yani you have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to TEFL or CELTA because you have the recorded sessions. So a recorded session about speaking is more helpful than Shaimaa staying with you and helping you with your lesson. Okay, so don't forget about this treasure, the recorded sessions. Okay. خليني أوريكم حاجة بس هتساعدكم في كتابة السب aims. البيرسونال aims, I'm sorry. How do we write our personal aims? شفت حد كاتب I won't promise. Personally, I won't copy. I promise. Thank you, Maha. Thank you. So let's look at. Oh, Amr, are you still here? Oh, can I open your portfolio? I didn't know it was yours. Is it Amr Awad or Amr Ala? Okay. So I'm gonna open your end of course report, Amr. So what did we write for Amr? Amr has made considerable improvement during this part-time online CELTA. He was more than willing to adapt to the techniques required by the CELTA course. He has a pleasant rapport with students. He keeps them engaged throughout his lessons. His plans and materials became increasingly better and more thorough. He applies what he learns and he's keen on learning and listening to constructive criticism. He participates effectively in feedback sessions and provides his peers with valuable comments on their teaching. So Hamid's signature, أنا ببقى بمضي وأنا إيه جايب آخري and Islam Ashri. So that happened. إيه ده هو إحنا كنا السنة دي مع بعض يا عمرو؟ الله يكتر خيرك يعني خلصت في شهر 3 وجيت لي تاني في شهر 6 ربنا يبارك لك. Okay, so انت كنت معايا في النص الاولاني ولا في النص الثاني يا عمرو؟ النص الثاني. Okay, let's see TP7. No, النص الثاني كان مع اسلام. Let's see TP4 or TP3. صح احنا كنا مقسمين 3. حامد ايه ده يا عم انا اتلخبطتني. كانوا 3 تتلات مش TP6 طيب. Okay, so I was the tutor here. So Amr, main aim here was clarification of meaning, pronunciation, and form of hypothetical possibilities, grammar. And sub-aim, personal aims. So personal aims in TP6 the teacher should get them from the feedback of TP5 to avoid monotone in the classroom. Amr was very quiet in the classroom, to prepare clear instructions, to balance my pace and keep an eye. كاتب لي your timer، اخدها كوبي بيست يا عمرو من الفيدباك، يعني حتى مش ماي تايمر، انت هتحط عينك على التايمر بتاع التيوتر يعني. to balance my pace، انت هتبالانس البيس بتاعك effectively، وهتكيب an eye on your timer اللي هو بتاعي انا. بتكلمني ولا بتقول لي مين your timer دي؟ ما خدتش بالي منها، يومها. فهو جايب الكلام ده منين؟ جايب الكلام ده منين؟ بس شوف الليسون بلان برضو وجمالها، يعني هتلاقي الراجل عامل شغل جامد. شغل شبه بتاع شيماء والله. اوكي. طب امال ماي هنا، يعني ماي ويور في نفس الجمله يا عمرو؟ يعني ماي بيس ويور تايمر ازاي؟ يعني بالانس ماي بيس، ماشي، effectively and keep يعني انت هتبالانس البيس وهتبص في التايمر بتاعي؟ يعني انا مش فاهم عايز تقول ايه. اوكي، فهنا احنا the personal aims، خدوا بالكم منهم تاني كده: monotone in the classroom، prepare clear instructions، keep an eye on خلف's time. ماشي، ده في 5/3/2024. ده تي بي 6. هل انا كنت كاتب الكلام ده في تي بي 5 ولا لا؟ الفيدباك بتاع تي بي 5، شوف عامل لنا الليمبي في بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، فتح البتاع كده. if you were a limbi would you take your rights illegally? We call this culture awareness because the Egyptians the students are Egyptians, so he started with something that grabs their attention. ما الفيديو مش هيشتغل يا عمرو، انت حاطط الفيديو نفسه في الفولدر؟ مش موجود، فمش هيشتغل لان مش محمل على خلينا نشوف الفيدباك بتاع تي بي 5 ونشوف انت جايب البيرسونال ايمز دي منه ولا مألفها. So this was a strong reading lesson عمرو. شايف المدح؟ strong reading lesson. Oh my God, friendly, but please avoid the monotone in the classroom. Accurate language models. طب انت جبت جبت موضوع البيس منين؟ من فيدباك قبله؟ Okay. So the personal aims, usually you get them from the feedback report, from the areas you need to work on. Very organized materials. With the copyrights and everything. That's it for today. Thank you very much. With arms. ده ايه اللي احنا، لا ده طمع جامد، لا لا لا. يعني انا بقولها هرب لكم لينك، اقول لك قرب لنا كمان فولدر، هرب لكم فولدر شيماء، هرب لكم. But if Amr allows me to do so, I will. But it is still confidential. It shouldn't be leaked before 6 months of the end of the course. يعني انا legally مش مسموح لي ان انا اخرج، حتى لو عمرو نفسه موافق، مش مسموح لي اخرج شغله قبل 6 شهور من انتهاء الكورس. no no. فيعني I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So it shouldn't be leaked by me, if you understand what I mean. I won't be able to share it with you, Amr, if you understand what I mean. Okay? Yeah. And again, I'd like to thank you for your patience today. You waited for me and you didn't get a break. I hope it was I hope it was worth your time and patience. And this session will be kind of a guide, and the material itself will be kind of a guide for you whenever you are planning. Okay. Thank you so very much. It was a lovely journey with you. ايه ده انتوا لسه muted يا عيني. انا قاعد اقول الناس دي هاديه النهارده جدا. اتاريكم muted. Okay. Let me just fix that. I cannot even unmute you. Okay, found it. So maybe this is the last session you see me live, like in an input. And next week you will see Hamid revising the course with you in a different way. And you will start teaching practice the week after, I guess. So Hamid will let you know. Again, I enjoyed your company for this couple of months. So I truly enjoyed your company. I wish you all the best with your TPs, and I will collect some videos for the TP tutors that they're going to be with you, some of them.
hear you, Mr. Muhammad.
من بعد I guess ما احنا مش سامعين حاجة.
I guess ما عرفناش بقى الجس كان ايه.
What happened?
I guess وما سمعناش حاجة بعدها.
You
Hello?
unmuted yourself.
Yeah, yes,
سامعين
now we
كده.
can hear you. Yeah.
I think it's karma because we've been muted all of the session.
Sorry. I'm sorry. So well, I'm going to introduce the tutors somehow to you using the Pro TEFL Tips series. I shared one for Ahmed Atwa yesterday. We also have some for Aya, Dalia, Sharif. I will also share one for Hala. I still have one for Yasmin, one for me, one for Hamid, but the other tutors, I guess Nurhan, Ayat, and Radwa, also Muhammad Ayad, they haven't provided me with any tips yet, but whenever they do that, I'll upload them as well, if they provided me with some. Assigned to, yes, each tutor is assigned to one group, and you will swap, like you will do 4 TPs with one tutor and the other 4 TPs, or some TPs with one tutor and the rest will be with another tutor. The same way with CELTA, because CELTA, as you saw, if we are 3 tutors on the course, we actually, the candidates meet at least 2 or they meet the 3. They are assessed by 3 people. This way gives you different perspectives, expose you to different characters and different schools in teaching. We agree on the basics, but we might disagree on some approaches. See?
Mr. Hamid, Mr. Khalaf, I have a question.
Go ahead.
هو كان المفروض من ضمن الستبس في warm up. Shall we cancel the warm up to save time for the most important things?
Yes, I agree
It's
with
not important, right?
not as important as the rest.
Okay, thank you.
Teaching exam classes and I think Hamid will do the teaching exam classes. Online Zoom sessions. No. If they're not going to be canceled, we might provide you with the recordings of these sessions. Hamid might provide you with the teaching exam classes. I think he has one for it. What about PowerPoint session? Did we get a reply? Oh, thank you for asking. I haven't checked.
Do we have a PowerPoint session?
مساء الخير يا محمد. مش عارفة بس انت تقريبا ما خدتش بالك من الباسورد بتاعتي، كنت بسألك ارفع الاساينمنتس ولا عايز تبص عليهم الاول ولا اعمل ايه، إن أنا حقيقي محتاجة أقوم أنام. فأنا رفعت assignments
ما ردتش على السؤال، بترد على حاجة تانية.
دي على اللينك ده وبعته لك برضه على التليجرام. بالنسبة للكورس بتاع الباوربوينت لا والله ما عملتش حاجة.
جاوبت في آخر ثانية.
معرفش.
بالنسبة للكورس بتاع الباوربوينت لا والله ما عملتش.
لا والله ما عملتش حاجة. if
Kill her.
she finishes, I will let you know. It will be a supplementary, a couple of videos, or I'll see with her. I'll see with her, but I cannot promise you anything because she's voluntarily doing this. She's volunteering. Okay. Thank you
We're
very
gonna
much.
miss you, Mr. Muhammad. We're gonna
going
miss
to-
you.
I'm going to miss you too, but again, we might meet in different contexts. Maybe if during the teaching practice, if we feel like we need to meet you, we can have a meeting, or we can go live on our TEFL group and tell you what you need to work on. So it's not going to be the last time you see us or you see me, but it will be a bit different than the consistent meeting on Thursday. So I truly enjoyed your company and I wish you all the best. And yes, we have become one family, Aya, and we actually have one tutor. It's called Aya Slim as well. The same name here, Aya Slim. How do we allocate time for upper intermediate or advanced level? You mentioned it can be the same time if you are B2 or C1. If you allocate time for a student who is B2 or C1, it's going to be quite the same time you have for the task. Like if you do it in 4 minutes, they will take 4 or 5. And we actually monitor in order to make sure that they still need time or they finish, you know? So monitoring will give you more insight on what you need to do. I'm glad you enjoyed and you liked the PowerPoint. Okay. Thank you very much, Abdul Halim.
مش هتبقى معانا في التي بيز يا مستر؟
مين؟
أنا سمر.
عايزة إيه؟
مش هتبقى معانا في التي بيز؟
You will have much kinder people in the TPs. Teaching practice needs someone who is more patient and more understanding than me. I get crazy. If I'm assessing CELTA and assessing TEFL, CELTA in the morning and TEFL in the evening, I come to you grumpy. So
Zombie.
no,
بلاش
with
بلاش
a
بلاش.
grumpy face.
خلاص احنا هنستنى كلمة هلو هلو ونخرج وحضرتك تخرج تاني بس كده.
Every time. كم جروب بقى ادخل كم جروب انا ان شاء الله؟
ما
6.
بلاش في سمر، ما
علينا بقى.
تجيبيش سمر.
So thank you very much. And yes, I created this session. Thank you, Shireen, for putting it this way with intensive love, because I felt lost every time I wrote a lesson plan. That's why I tried to gather the formula all together, all the steps, all the thoughts. الافكار كلها اللي انت محتاج تفكر فيها قبل ما تكتب الليسن بلان حطيتها لك في سيشن واحده. Thank you for putting it this way.
You should take a picture, Mr. Ham.
بعد ما الناس مشيت كنت فكريني من
Already?
خليني اخد صورة.
قفلنا يا سمر، يعني مش كده يا سمر.
طيب thank you Samar for letting me thank you for reminding me. I was lost and this session saved my life. Thank you Abdul Halim, because it's actually a revision on everything, like perceptive skills, productive skills, grammar, vocabulary, and so on. So thank you very much for your very nice words. You have always showered us with lovely words and prayers. Thank you. And let me take a picture. I'll take 2 to be honest, but because I have 2 screens. So 3, 2, 1. One more. for this screen, then I'll go to the other screen. Okay, everyone, be ready. 3, 2, 1. Let's go to the other screen. Okay, everyone. 3, 2. أنا مش طالع في السكرين التانية بس مش مشكلة. 3, 2, 1. حطيت ايدك على وشك يا جنة. أنا بقول 1 قمت حاطط ايدك على وشك. عد تاني. 3, 2, 1. Okay. هبعت لكم بقى على
باي
الواتساب.
باي.
Thank you very much, everyone. And best of luck with everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
حبيبي.
Mr. Muhammad, for
Thank you
answering
so
all
much.
the
Appreciate all the efforts, Mr. Muhammad.
Thank you,
Thank
والله.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Hello,
بجد
we
يعني.
miss you.
Thank you. Best of luck and keep in touch.
إن شاء الله.
Allah.
إن شاء الله.
لا دعكم الله الذي لا تضيع ودائعه.
Definitely. Don't worry, definitely.